Alright guys, so this video is going to be all about A-level biology, OCR A exam board, and the upcoming paper 1. Okay, that's what we're going to be checking out today. Now, biology, I did biology myself. I did the AQA exam board. OCR one slightly different, but for the most part, it's pretty much the same, right? And this is probably, after doing past papers, this is probably how you guys are feeling right now, okay? Biology, get out of my way. I don't want to do any more, all right? But the purpose of this video is going to go through and I'm going to sprinkle some magic dust on you, and that is high yield topics. Okay, so if you weren't aware, exams are a very rigid structure when you're at GCSE and A levels. I've preached this in all my videos, and there's a very specific rule set to the game of exams. Okay, and there's going to be something that's referred to as high yield topics, which come up more often. They're favored by the exam board in the specification, and they're going to come up more often, right? And that's where you want to snag as many marks as possible in order to boost your chances of getting an A or an A star. Okay, so you want to be really smart with your revision time. There's only a few days left until paper 1. I worked my ass off to get this video done in time, but it took longer than expected. But hopefully it helps you. So with that out of the way, let's jump into a couple of things. Where do I want to start? So you got these assessment objectives, okay? AO1, AO2, AO3. It's exactly the same for all exam boards. So they're going to have this breakdown. So I want you to go to your specification. And ideally, if you're not aware of this already, look through this a little bit. Okay, so AO1, I'm just going to go through this as an example. You need to demonstrate knowledge and understanding of scientific ideas, processes, techniques, and procedures. Okay, AO2 is slightly different. AO3 is different. Okay. So they're all slightly different, but they're telling you the style of question that you're going to come across in the exam. And there's a breakdown. So you can see here that there's a rough split between these different 3 objectives, and they're broken between paper 1, 2, and 3. Okay, practical endorsement, completely ignore that. Okay, so collectively, across the 3 papers, you've got roughly 31 to 34, so a third of the paper is AO1, 40+%, around 43% is AO2, and 25 to 28 is AO3. So you should be focusing most of your time here and here, okay, in terms of what you need to understand. Okay, now personally, I don't find this very, very helpful. It's sort of a loose net to look at the exams from. But like if I read this, applying knowledge and understanding of scientific ideas, processes, techniques, and procedures in a theoretical, practical context when handling qual and quant data. It's not very helpful, right? So what I like to do is look more at the topics that come up, okay? This is a prerequisite, okay? But it's going to kind of just naturally unfold through your revision and through your questions. But it's a good thing to be aware of the breakdown that happens. Now, if we look at the topics that can come up in paper 1, right, for OCR, you got topic 1, development of practical skills in biology, topic 2, foundations in biology, topic 3, exchange and transport, and topic 5, communication, homeostasis, and energy, okay? And these are broken down further into their respective subtopics, right? So within the practical side, topic 1, or module 1, I should say, you have practical skills in a written exam, practical skills assessed in the practical endorsement, okay? And then foundations in biology broken down into these. Then you have exchange broken down into these. Communication, these, right? Pretty simple stuff. I've color coded everything so it carries across. If you weren't aware, this is all within the specification. Okay, it tells you exactly what's going to come up in each exam, and they literally can't ask you any more than that. Okay. Now, obviously, if we look at example for biological molecules, right, which is this one right here, 2.1.2, that breaks down even further into these things, right? This screenshot right here is just taken from the OCR textbook. So you can see there's a lot of content within each subtopic. Now, for the purposes of this video, there's no way I'm going to sit there and break it down to this level, because it would literally take me weeks and it wouldn't really be that helpful to you. Okay, so I've broken it down into the subtopics, and it is up to you guys to go away and revise everything within that subtopic related to how frequently it comes up. Okay, now one really, really important thing to point out is this video is an analysis, okay? It's looking at patterns from past exam papers from 2017 to 2023, so 7 paper 1s in total. It is not a prediction video. I'm not saying this is definitely going to come up. This is going to come up, so you only focus on this area. In order to get an A or an A star, you should focus on the entire specification as a prerequisite, okay? But in those days and a week, I know we've only got like 6 days left until paper 1, but this should carry over to paper 2 and paper 3. you need to focus your revision further. So you should have an understanding of all of this, right? But then when it comes to actually like mastering the knowledge and remembering it like the back of your hand, that is where you can focus your revision further, okay? So that's really important to get out of the way. I'm not a psychic, I'm not predicting the future, but it's understanding that there is favoritism for high yield topics, and I'm gonna sprinkle some of that magic dust on you today. Okay, so practicals are so important in biology, more than any other subject, okay? That practical understanding is super important. The apparatus involved, how to demonstrate and draw tables, graphs, different statistical tests. It is so important in biology. So I actually haven't included it whatsoever within the topic analysis. Okay, we'll get to this in a second, but I haven't included it. The reason being is you need to know all of this. You just need to understand and revise all of the practical side of things, because they can throw it at you in any subtopic. So any of these subtopics, they can throw practical application questions at you. Okay, so it's really important to get out of the way. You need to learn all of this. Okay, you need to learn the different practicals, the different apparatus, the different statistical techniques, and stuff like that. We'll go into it a little bit more detail. This right here is out of the practical handbook. So when I say I need you to learn all the practicals involved, I don't mean you need to learn all of this, okay? Because that would be an insane amount of time. Because if you look at this, you got your practical activity 1 to 12, right? Within 1 to 12, you have 3, sometimes up to 4 different practicals that they can ask you about. Okay, so this is an insane amount of information, but if you learn the fundamentals to practicals, okay, so like different control variables, different variables, right? You got your different apparatus, like I've said, how to display data, how to record data, and then you've got the practical knowledge within the different subtopics that you need to be aware of. That's where you need to focus your time. But this comes under every subtopic. I cannot emphasize that enough, so really pay attention to this. But I haven't broken it down within the actual analysis, because anytime that there's mention of a practical or something related to graphs or carrying out an experiment or whatever it may be, I've put it under the respective topic. Okay. Now there were 10 marks in the 2020 paper. It was a bit of a weird one where you require practical knowledge. They sort of cheekily applied it to a top module 6 question, but it didn't require knowledge from module 6. But it required practical knowledge. So I've actually excluded those 10 marks because it was all about maths. So you needed to know the reason for like logarithmic graphing and stuff. And that was only a math-based question. There was no actual topic related to it. And then there was some stat stuff as well. Okay. So I've excluded those 10 marks, but be aware they are present. And the reason for that is because they just couldn't be linked back to a topic. So I just left them out completely. Okay. So on the side of practicals, you've also got maths, okay? All of this stuff right here is in the specification. So go check it out. Please check it out. There's a lot of information in there. And it tells you what you need to recall and what is provided to you. Okay, so all of this stuff, you need to be able to recall the equations for this. Okay, I'm not going to go into this in detail in this video. If you want a separate video on the maths and statistics skills for biology and everything you need to know, maybe I'll do that if I have time. But you also need to know all the GCSE maths recall. Okay, so circumference and area of a circle, mean, percentage change, percentage error, etc. Okay, all of this you need to be able to recall for calculation questions. And those calculation questions can apply to any of these. Okay, really important to understand. Now, you're provided with the Hardy-Weinberg and the Simpson's index of diversity, but you need to know how to use these and how to apply them. Okay, it doesn't apply here, but it applies in paper 2 and 3, okay? Next up, even though these statistical tests, if you need to do equations, they are provided to you, you need to know how to use them and how to interpret them in questions, okay? So make sure you revise your stats. Stats is super common in biology. Make sure you know your fundamental equations for biology that you need to recall that isn't given to you, and go from there, okay? Outside of maths, you need to be very comfortable with graphs, okay? So there's a variety of graph questions that you can be asked. This one is just a screen grab, I think, from 2022, I think. I can't remember, to be honest. But it requires you to calculate Q10, okay? This is a respiration-based question. So what you need to be able to do is you need to be able to read a graph properly for the purposes of calculations, for the purposes of evaluating conclusions. So it will often be like a student or a scientist have concluded X, Y, and Z from a graph, evaluate their conclusion or justify their conclusion or whatever it may be. So you need to be very comfortable with the graphs. Now, I wouldn't spend time revising and memorizing specific graphs because they can throw any graph at you that they want, essentially. You just need to be comfortable with what the graph is telling you. So do past paper questions on graphs and it will help you so much, okay? Next point, I've shouted out this person before, Bio Exam Tech. They got 3 A stars, Biochem and Maths. They did OCR A, I believe, for all. I can't remember, but definitely for biology. So if you haven't already, check out her channel. She does some great breakdowns of OCR biology. And her most recent video is super good. I watched it yesterday. Check it out. She gives some really good advice for biology. So if you're confused, go check her out. And then obviously there's so many different OCR and AQA biology YouTubers, so check them out as well. But I just thought I'd give a special shout out to her because she's done it. She's got the A star last year. She knows what she's doing, so check it out. Cool. With that out of the way, hopefully that gives you a great framework to start with in terms of, okay, I need to know these topics. I need to know the practicals in terms of the different apparatus and techniques and stuff like that. Not so much the granular detail of all these like 40, 30 plus practicals. Okay, that's just an insane amount of time. Next, stats, maths, graphs. Okay, pretty much done there. You should be good with that. Hopefully you're not feeling like this anymore, okay, once you've done some more past papers. So let's look into the actual analysis. As I said, I looked at 2017 to 2023, 7 paper ones. It took me ages, but here we are. These are the grade boundaries. Okay, we love a good bit of grade boundaries. So A star is out of 100 marks, right? Paper 1 and paper 2 are both out of 100 marks. And then we have what you need to get an A star in the years right here, what you need to get an A, etc. Okay, hopefully you guys are somewhere around here. Throughout this video, I'm going to use an A as my baseline. I think an A is a great grade, you know, gets you into most unis. For a science-based subject, it's really good. Okay, so then we have the average and the median, okay? Just for a little bit of spiciness to see what things look like across the years. So if you're going for an A star, you're looking at around 70%. And then for an A, around 60%, and it sort of drops incrementally by 10, roughly. Median shifts slightly, but it's around the same. Okay, so for a B, you're going for about 50%. So you can lose 50% of the paper and still get a B, 40% of the paper and still get an A. Essentially, things go up slightly and down slightly year by year, but for the most part, this is what you want to aim for if you needed to know. Okay, so it's pretty good in biology, because biology, a lot of people think it's just memory, but it's not. If we go back to AO1, 2, and 3, where does it say memory? Okay, it says demonstrate knowledge, which is essentially recall, but you need to be able to apply that knowledge to a variety of questions. Okay, so it's not just memory. Memory plays a large role, but you definitely need to practice these questions, okay? Next up, we have the topic breakdown. So as we can see here, the absolute highest is communication, homeostasis, and energy. Okay, again, it's a large topic. There's a lot of questions involved. A lot of subtopics involved. So it kind of makes sense that it is the highest. Whereas this one right here, module 3, has 3 subtopics, but it is the second highest at 36%. And then poor old foundations in biology, 11%. Okay, so these are the marks breakdown. This is the mark percentage. Again, remember, this is 700 marks, but I've excluded 10 marks from the 2020 paper, so this adds up to 690. So just be aware of that. Right, so we've looked at the topic breakdown. What we want to look at is the subtopics, because that allows you to focus your revision a bit more. Okay, so this is a breakdown of 2023. Okay, the most recent paper 1, just as an example, just to show my philosophy behind these high yield topics, right? So if you've seen this before, if you've seen biochem or maths video on my channel, feel free to skip ahead, but this is just going to sort of explain things, right? So this is a graph of 2023. As I said, y-axis shows the marks available for that specific subtopic, and the x-axis is the subtopic. Okay, cool. And everything's color-coded back to this, okay? Now, what I want to show you is that this dashed box right here is essentially highlighting if you got the max marks available for these 4 subtopics, you would have got 64 marks, okay? Now for 2023, we can see here that 58 marks is what you needed for an A. So if you got maximum marks in these 4 subtopics alone, even this one, it's like you could swap these 2 over. If you got maximum marks, you would have got an A, okay? Then you could have scribbled this all out, walked out your exam, done, right? Get into uni, all that good stuff. Now, obviously you could bump this up a bit, add this in and get an A star. You could drop it down a little bit and get a B, but I'm going to use A as my baseline, okay? The point of this is that you may have spent ages revising these lower yield topics, right? Some of this, maybe a little bit of this, and not spent too much time here. In which case, you would have been somewhere down here. You would have grabbed some marks amongst this, but you wouldn't have got an A potentially. I don't know, maybe you would have. But the whole point of this is to show you that high yield topics is where it's at, okay? And that's where you want to spend the most of your revision time leading up to the exam. You want to be comfortable with the entire specification, but where possible, this is where you want to master your time. Okay, this is just an example from 2023. Obviously, things change year after year, but if we look at the entire spectrum of papers from 2018 to 2023, and then you'll see a more accurate spread of which subtopics have come up previously and are, in my opinion, more likely to come up. So we're going to go through this table in a second. This is just more of a visualization for you guys. If you want to see a graph and you can sort of pick out, okay, plant and animal responses is the #1 topic. Then we've got respiration. Then we've got transport in animals, photosynthesis, transport in plants, excretion, biological molecules, biological membranes. And then it's, it's basically a linear decrease going down from highest to lowest. Okay, which is pretty interesting to see. But obviously, guys, if I was you, you want to spend most of your time up here. Okay, ideally like this. Okay, and then obviously start high, work your way down. Okay, doing those past papers. It is crucial that you do the past papers to expose yourself to the methodology of doing those graph-based questions, those practical-based questions. Okay, it comes up so much. Biology is so practical-based. Okay, it may not be a specific practical that's listed here, but they will apply your knowledge to a wide range of things within the subtopics. Okay, so it's really important to understand there. So if we look at this, this is the final table that I'm going to show. Screenshot it, send it to your mates. I'm sure they will find it helpful in the days coming up to the exam when you want to really just focus your time and just be as efficient as possible with your time, right? So as we can see here, we've got the marks. You may have seen this table before in biochemical maths. We've got the marks here, all right, from 2017 to 2023. Got the marks percentage. You got frequency right here, which is essentially just how many papers did that subtopic come up. So 6 is 6 of the papers, 5 is 5, 7 is 7, real basic stuff. And then average marks per paper is essentially telling you when this subtopic did come up, how many marks were available on average. And all that is this number, the number of marks, divided by the frequency. Okay, real basic stuff there. So you can use this table however you want. Please do use it. It took me a long time to look at this, and I think it will help you out so much leading up to paper 1. But if I was you, I would just start at the top and work my way down, okay? And then try and connect things together where you can. Like respiration goes pretty well with photosynthesis. There's a lot of memory involved. I'd go with those 2 together. Do whatever works for you for your revision, but start at the top and work your way down. Okay, that would be my advice. Now, again, I'm not a psychic. As far as I know, they might chuck in 16 marks on enzymes for whatever reason. Okay, there's only been 11 marks across the 7 years. So are they likely to do that? No, but they can essentially do what they want. But as long as you know these to a very, very, very high level, if you master these subtopics, you're going to perform well, in my opinion. Okay, that is my perspective, and that would be the exact approach that I take if I was retaking my bio exams. Best of luck in your exams, guys. Peace.